Check. Okay, we got sound. What's up, everyone? Sorry for the technical difficulties there. Welcome back to Noise Pollution. It's weird how we took 1 week off and come back and the entire thing is a total shit show and I can't get my sound to work. Anyway, now we're back. It's the only live rock and roll therapy session available every Monday, except on holidays, on Twitch. I'm Josh, and man, we've got an amazing show planned for today. We've got Jade and Hunter from AFI here. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. They're one of your favorite bands of all time. I have to imagine they're one of everyone's favorite bands of all time. They're here to talk about their new album that's out this Friday. It's called Bodies, but we're also going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. And for the second half of the show, we'll be taking your questions, so make sure that you put them in the chat and we can ask them live on air. I know some of you had posters of these on your wall growing up, so make sure you take advantage of this opportunity and send the questions to my producer Matt at Permanent Magikarp. If you're here, you know the drill. You send them to him, tag him if you can, put him in the chat. He'll see as many as he can, and he'll send them to me to ask. We're going to keep the questions going for the whole show today, so send him everything and anything you want to know or that you can think to ask Jade and Hunter, and we'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Jade, Hunter, how's it going?
Hello. Hey.
Cool. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for putting up with me figuring out how to get the microphone to work again.
Hey, we got there.
Exactly. You know, that's the important thing. Is it's not rock and roll if we're not a few minutes late at least. So you're here obviously because you got the new album coming out this Friday. You know, what should people kind of look forward to, and you know, what should people expect from it?
I mean, it's music, so we just want people to enjoy it. I mean, it's simple as that. It's another sort of departure for us, so expect that. But we've had more than half the record out already, so people kind of know a little bit what it's about. And so, yeah, I just hope people get into it.
Absolutely. And as you said, there's already been a handful of songs out. I mean, people kind of know what the new sound is. What was that like, and what was that decision to kind of drip the songs a couple at a time over the last couple months instead of just, you know, maybe one single and then saying, hey, go listen to the album?
I mean, it's, last year was kind of a weird year, and we had these touring plans that were sort of infinitely pushed off into the future. And I think it was kind of a decision of a way to sort of, sort of tease our music out, spread it out over time, in lieu of the normal concerts that we might be playing, and get people excited about the record.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure at this point you've seen the reaction to at least a few of those songs. I mean, you know, how do you think they're resonating with people? And you know, what have kind of you heard as feedback on those first handful of songs?
I'm pretty happy with it. When I listened to this record back before we started releasing any of the songs, I was feeling this is like a strange record, even for us, and I really didn't know how it would be received. I'm pleasantly surprised at how people are accepting it. You know, obviously it doesn't sound like anything we've done. There's always that aspect of AFI that will always be in there, but it's, you know, we're doing things on this record we haven't done yet, so it's gratifying to see that people are giving it a chance.
Absolutely. And it seems, kind of speaking of that, it seems like AFI has always been changing and evolving, you know, where it really started off as a hardcore punk act and, you know, kind of went through that third wave emo phase in the 2000s. And now, you know, it's big, you know, theatrical kind of rock and roll that's changing and growing on every album. What's it been like to, you know, kind of have that evolution and to really be able to see album by album and stage by stage how you've grown as a band?
I mean, we're inside of it, so it's a little different. Our experience, you know, it seems very natural, I think, and organic for us. I don't know how it seems as a fan. It's probably like sometimes a little confusing, but it's been a very artistic progression. This is just who we are as musicians, and you know, obviously if we were still playing the same music that we were playing 20 years ago, I don't think we probably wouldn't be a band anymore because we wouldn't really feel artistically fulfilled to be doing that and never having progressed. So every time we put out a record, we're just taking a chance, taking a shot at doing something new, hoping people are going to come along for the ride with us. And luckily, our fans have been incredible our whole career, and they have come along for the ride.
Of course. And as we spoke about just a little bit ago, you know, you've got fans now who have been fans for 15, 20 years at this point. I mean, you know, what's that like to see the crowd kind of grow where maybe some of the next generation comes in, but also those original fans are still there a decade or two later?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the other day, I was talking to Adam about this, but it's weird to think about a kid or like a teenager that's discovering AFI for the first time. The reference points for music and for like what we do are going to be so different than ours. Like, I wonder how they view a band like us, because, you know, what we consider like punk or rock, or, you know, coming from a different perspective. And so, like, it's just interesting to see, as, you know, this band has been together for 30 years, as new people discover it, like, what do they think of AFI? Like, what you consider AFI now is what people considered 20 years ago is so different. It's probably confusing, but what I just said, but I was tripping on it.
No, I think it makes sense, because, you know, someone whose first introduction to AFI comes from, you know, the last few albums might listen to, you know, Black Sails in the Sunset or something like that and be totally baffled by who the band is. So I think that's a very valid point.
I think also, you know, some younger people might even be baffled by the fact that we have guitars and and drums and play shows, and, you know, I don't know. It's interesting to try to put things in context of like what like the youngest listener might think, but, you know.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, you're not like a TikTok band or anything yet. Maybe that's the next step, but.
So we've always been evolving towards.
There you go. That's AFI, the TikTok band, coming soon. And one thing that I've personally wanted to ask about is that you guys mix up the set list on each show seemingly from like all over the place, where obviously you have the core songs that you're going to play on each tour, but especially when it comes to, like, you know, deep cuts and old songs and things like that, it really seems to depend from show to show what you're going to play. How do you kind of manage that when you have, you know, however, 30 years now of songs to choose from, and deciding on what you're going to play on a given night?
I think that as a music fan, if you go, like, say your all-time favorite band is coming through and you can go see 3 shows, you're like, I'm going to go to this, this, and this, and you see them, and every night they play the same set. It's a bummer, and experiencing that as a fan made me be like, I don't want to do that, because, you know, going out and meeting fans after the show, you see people that are coming to, you know, our fans are incredible, so they might come to 10 shows on a given tour. You want to play the same set to this person that's driving 9 hours every night to come to your next show, and they're going to hear the same set list. So those are 2 reasons really to vary the set list and give people a different show. And also for us, we've been playing these songs a long time, so, you know, we don't want to play the same stuff. It gets really tedious to play the same songs over and over. I'm sure Hunter probably.
Yeah, there was a period of time where we were playing a really similar set list from night to night, and we were like a well-oiled machine. It became like so tight that you're not even engaged in it anymore. I'm thinking about like, oh, I gotta do laundry, different things, you know. But then once we started really mixing up the set list, it's super exciting. I'd look over a set list and go, okay, I know how to play all these songs. This is gonna be great. And then during the actual show, the lights would be too dark to read the set list, and then the lights would come back up, and I'd see a song that I hadn't noticed before, and it's one we maybe hadn't played in 3 years, and suddenly I'm on my toes. And
for 20 years.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I'm like as engaged in the song as you could possibly be. So it's a lot of fun for us too.
No, absolutely.
So luckily, you know, making the set list like the day of the show, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll like text like everyone and be like, hey, let's play the song that none of us has even listened to in 15 years. And like, luckily everyone's so accomplished that it'll be like, yeah, give me 20 minutes and I'll learn it. And then we play it that night. And we haven't played this as a band together probably since we recorded it in like the year 2000, But it's like, you know, it makes it exciting for us as a band to just be on by the seat of our pants. And the fans don't know. The fans probably think that, you know, we rehearsed this, but like we're really just like on the verge of falling apart. But it always works and it's always exciting.
Absolutely. And I specifically asked that because, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I've seen you guys many times over the years, and yet I think I've only seen Total Immortal get played once, and that was like the song that I'd always listened to first thing in the morning my freshman year of high school. And so for me, getting to hear that song when I was like, oh, they must just not play it anymore, was a really awesome experience. And I feel like not a whole lot of bands do that, where, you know, you get these deep cuts and these old cuts that aren't necessarily like, oh, we're playing this whole album, but just, you know, kind of randomly mix in different songs. So I appreciate that as well. Although I wish you'd play it more when I was there, at least.
It's luck of the draw, you know. Like if your favorite song is such and such, it's really because we have, you know, 11 albums. There's going to be a small chance that that particular song will get played, but maybe it will, and then it'll be like you say, like, oh shit, you played the song. I was there, and you played the song that I wanted to hear.
No, exactly, and yeah. It's always a great experience to see you, but that time was a little bit extra special for me. And one thing that, you know, at least in my opinion, I feel like has really helped the band both diversify and also possibly stay together over the years is that everyone in the band's never been shy about having kind of side projects and working on other material outside of AFI. You know, what's that kind of like to balance that? But then at the same time, it seems like it's never really cost AFI any time. Like, you've always put out an album every few years. You know, you've been on tour consistently. So how does that kind of work where people are able to go and do their own things, but still kind of come back to the band and make it all work together?
I think for all four of us, the AFI is always the priority. You know, we are able to all do our own thing, but AFI is the thing that we all is like the centerpiece of our lives, you know, and it's been something that we've been doing for the vast majority of our lives. So I don't think any of us want to marginalize AFI because of some side project we're doing or some, you know, side endeavor.
Absolutely. And
agreed.
Hey, you know, sometimes that's all you got to say. And
I was like, fuck AFI.
He's like, actually, I care way more about this side project. I just can't tell you guys. And I think yesterday was the 15th anniversary of December Underground. You know, what's it like to look back on that album and to kind of be able to revisit it a little bit and see where it was in the band's history and kind of where you've come since then?
I mean, I haven't really revisited it because I'm very familiar with it. So I didn't be like, man, December Underground. I don't even remember that. Let me throw it on. But to think back on that record, it's funny because it was really successful, probably our most like commercially successful record. But definitely when we were writing and making that record, I don't know. I personally didn't think like, oh, this is a shoe-in. This is gonna be a smash. This is gonna be great. Like every record, I was like, oh man, I don't know if people are gonna like this. Like, you know, which I think on every record from Black Sails on. So, in retrospect, it was successful, but at the time, if it would have been a total failure, I would have been like, I knew it. I knew it was going to fail.
I mean, I think it's the only #1 album for AFI. I could be wrong, but I think I saw that. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, just to have, I wouldn't say only #1 because just to have a #1 record at all as a band like us that came, you know, was a punk band, hardcore band, it was incredible. To have the #1 album in the country, like that even happened is insane. And so, you know, I'm just glad that we did a lot of things on that record that, you know, we had never done before, like playing Saturday Night Live and having a #1 song and all that stuff. It was just really incredible time to experience all these things that we got to do that, you know, most people don't get to do.
Absolutely. And I didn't mean it as a slight that it's the only #1 record. It was just, to me, exactly. I look at it and I'm like, man, really? Like, but no.
You know, what's funny is that like Miss Murder, which was, you know, the first single and the really probably our most successful song we've ever released. When we were recording that record, Davey and I both were like, I don't really like the song. Like, we shouldn't put this on the record. Like, there's better songs. Like, let's leave this one off. And like, we were not too hot on that song. So I'm glad that cooler heads prevailed.
There you go. It must have been all Hunter then that you know, just wanted it on the album.
I love Miss Murder, my favorite song we've ever done.
I mean,
on the record.
It's one of the few songs that has a bass intro, so I was like, listen, it's gotta go.
I was gonna say it's got a good bass part, you know, for that everyone knows at this point. I feel like so. Very cool. And speaking of kind of that time period with December Underground, I know, Jade, we talked about this a little bit before, but I'm a Long Beach guy, and so I always like to talk about Long Beach when I get the chance. You did the Live from Long Beach Arena, you know, DVD and live set. What was that like to put that together? And, you know, can you kind of think back on the show and you know, what was that experience like as one of the biggest rock bands in the world at that point in time?
I mean, it's hard to remember many details, at least for me, about that show, because like any show, it just happens so quickly, and you're in the moment, and then it's over, and you're like, whoa, what happened? But like luckily we have the DVD, and what's interesting is my now wife and the person I've been with for 16 years, like I had just started dating her, and her dad actually did the color on that DVD, and he didn't even, I don't think he knew they were dating, so it was like a weird, little bit of trivia, but for me, it was an incredible show. I do remember it being incredible, but like I say, it went by in a flash, and so I don't have like that many memories about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember, because we were filming, I remember thinking like, I have to try whatever I gotta do to not eat shit on camera.
That could have been a really memorable moment, though, if you did.
Yeah. Yes.
And then my final question about December Underground, before we get to some of the fan questions, because we already have several of them coming in, but is, you know, going from that time period of, you know, having Sing the Sorrow and, you know, December Underground, was there, you know, what was it like to kind of see that trajectory? Did it feel weird to be in a band that, you know, had, you know, been kind of this underground hardcore punk thing for so long, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, everyone knows who we are, and, you know, we're on Saturday Night Live and we're all over the place at this point?
I mean, not really, because it would have been a very natural progression for us. We weren't one of those bands that was like, we start and then a month later on our first record we're huge. Like, you know, we had been getting steadily bigger and more people finding out about us all the way through every record, basically. And then by the time December Underground came around, it wasn't like we really catapulted from one level to the next. So it really didn't feel like, and we were in our late 20s, I guess, early 30s, I don't remember, but we had good heads on our shoulders, so we weren't tempted to go insane with this new level of popularity or, you know, whatever we had at the time. So we took it all very much in stride, but we were very thankful and very happy to every new thing that we accomplished. We were very happy for it.
Very cool. And then we'll take a handful of questions from Twitch right now and then get back to a few others. The first question, and we actually have a few people who have asked this, is, do you like wasabi peas?
Yes, and we have them on the bus often, and we call them pain peas because, you know, it's painful to eat too many of them, but I personally love wasabi peas. Yeah, I'm into them.
There, I figured that was the case because it'd be a weird question to ask without a story behind it.
How do people know that we eat wasabi peas? Don't bring them to us on tour, please, because if we have too many, then it's just going to be it's going to be painful for us to have too many pain peas.
Exactly, a painful amount of pain peas.
Yeah.
And not Josh Lowe wants you to do a little show and tell of the wall behind you, Jade, because he thinks it's very interesting.
Okay. The one there on my right is a gold Canadian album plaque for Sing the Sorrow. This is a platinum Canadian plaque for Sing the Sorrow. This is Platinum US for Sing the Sorrow. This is Platinum US for December Underground. That is Gold for Australia for December Underground. And that is Gold for Sing the Sorrow US.
There you go. And then I presume, Hunter, you just got those all like in your closet stashed away.
I had them up at one point. Now they're all stacked together, waiting for another wall to go on at some point.
There you go.
Yeah.
I do have my my MTV awards sitting on my toilet though.
That's a good spot for it.
Yeah.
And the next question comes from Heather Hope, who wants to know what inspired the album art for Bodies.
I feel like Dave E. maybe had a vague idea for that, and he kind of like told the artist guy we work with to conceptualize something like that. I think. Hunter, do you remember?
Yeah, that seems right. I mean,
It was Dave E.
Definitely came Dave E. Havoc.
Dave Havoc.
Entertainment Havoc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Entertainment. Cheese.
He had some sort of concept, and I think that's where it started from.
There you go. And the next question, we'll just take a couple more from Twitch real quick, is from Viz Sarah, who wants to know what's been your favorite video to shoot?
All time?
I think all time. I mean,
I would say Silver and Coal, because we got to go to Prague just to shoot that video, and it was like got to drive around with a stunt driver on the streets of Prague and run around, and it was like just kind of like a fun little vacation, and I just have good memories of that video.
Most of our videos, we end up like in some really uncomfortable situation with like makeup or paint or something on us, and this, like that was one where we didn't have to do any of that. So
yeah, Girls Not Grey was brutal.
I mean, I imagine
as far as video shoots go, like that when we were all covered in black, that was actual black paint, and every time we did a take, we had to put another layer on. It was, ugh.
That's wild. I mean, obviously.
Also, the Love Like Winter video, we're supposed to be in the snow. You know how freaking hot that was? It was like being on the surface of the sun, because, we're lights, and then that snow is like this fake snow. It's basically like insulation, and we're wearing all these clothes. It was so hot.
There you go. I mean, both of those videos worked out well, and the production value on them is obviously great, but understandable why you wouldn't necessarily want to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. We get to make music videos and do rock music for a living, so.
There you go. Yeah. It could be worse.
Could be worse.
And the next question is, what song off Bodies are you most proud of?
I mean, I really love Tied to a Tree. I like all the songs, obviously, or else we wouldn't have put them on the record, but that one to
I
me
would hope
is
so.
Something special about that one for me.
That's a good question.
I was like, what are those bodies you speak of?
Yeah.
The little thing that you got coming out.
It's I don't want to play favorites with that. I do think like I really like how different Dulceria is, and it's allowed me to play our music for people who some people who otherwise wouldn't even want to listen to anything rock, some relatives and such. But but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of really cool songs that I'm really happy with how they came out.
I remember the first time that my grandpa became aware that I was in a band that was having some success. My mom was like, "Hey, you should listen to Jade's band," and he's like, "Does it have drums?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't want to listen to it." Like, okay, fair enough.
There you go. I remember the first time I heard Dulceria, and I was like, is this the sound that they're going with on the rest of the album now? Like, is this what the direction that AFI is going into their journey to become a TikTok star? But it's definitely a different take on the band. So
you really want us to become TikTok stars, then?
I just figure we established it earlier. I'm gonna keep running with it. We got the next half hour to launch the TikTok program. So.
All right.
And
Do it.
we'll take one more from Twitch for now, and then we'll come back to Twitch questions later. The next question, which I think everyone wants to know at this point, is simply, when's the tour?
There is a tour. It is being planned, and it will happen. I feel like it's not my place.
Sure,
it's
yeah.
one of our places to really announce it right now, because it's not really finalized.
Yeah,
but
no,
we'll
no.
have news on it soon, very soon.
Okay, that's good to know, because I know a lot of people, like, the album's coming out. Is there, shows to go along with it, especially now with everyone seemingly announcing their own stuff.
Yeah.
And now we will take a break from the Twitch questions to get to a segment that I know we talked about a little bit earlier, which is the relatively new segment called 6 Quick Questions That Have Nothing to Do with Your Music, in which I ask you 6 quick questions that have nothing to do with your music. So
Okay.
the first one, and Hunter, you got to answer these. You can't just go with agreed.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll see what they are.
Okay, what's the one restaurant you're looking forward to going to again on the road?
On the road, I don't eat a lot of at restaurants on the road, to be honest. I eat like on the bus restaurant.
There you go.
I eat like Amy's meals, like microwave Amy's meals.
Hey, if it works.
Yeah, it's like on the road. I don't know. Some of the places that we play, it's like, I know this is supposed to be a quick question. Some of the places we play are like, there's nothing. There aren't restaurants near where we're playing, so it's whatever it is a concession. But let's just say Chicago diner.
There you go. And the next question, who would you want to play you in a movie, and who would you want to play as an actor?
I say Carrot Top for both questions.
I would definitely want Jason Statham to play me, and I have to act.
Yeah, if you were going to be like a cameo in a movie, who would you want to be?
Jason Alexander.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. That one's, I don't know.
All good. And the next question is, what album to you is a perfect 10 out of 10?
Man, that's probably a lot.
Yeah.
It could be any of them. It doesn't have to be
I would
like...
say the first Weezer album.
Yeah.
Appetite for Destruction. Disintegration by The Cure.
Disintegration.
F Sharp, A Sharp, Infinity by Godspeed You Black Emperor. I mean, I could go on and on.
Talking Heads, Remain in Light. Prince, Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle. Blacks and Filth, Shit Split.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a few.
No, it's all good. And the next question, who's your favorite current pop star, pop culture figure, or current famous athlete?
Pop figure.
Just kind of someone from outside of the music and rock world.
I'll say my current favorite athlete is probably Anthony Davis, even though
he's got strong eyebrows. You guys both have strong eyebrows.
I was so excited when I found out he wanted to join the Lakers, and yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Anything?
Am I gone still?
Yeah, I mean, unless you also want to go with Anthony Davis.
Who do I like? I feel like I'm turning this into a long question.
I mean, they're quick questions. They can be long answers.
Yes. But you don't want to look at me thinking about this for 10 minutes. I'm going to pass on this one.
Okay. We can come back to it. And the next one, which TV show or movie have you watched enough times that the people around you are sick of it?
Oh man, I love the show Martin from the '90s. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time. And there's this one episode, this Christmas episode that like my wife, even if I mention it, she's like, "No, you're not putting that on." So like, I think that would probably be it for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of shows that I watch a lot of the time, but my girlfriend is totally on board, so I don't. she's more of that person who will watch something over and over and over and over again than I am. So yeah.
Well, let's see what she says after 16 years of the same episode.
Eventually, you'll have a Martin Christmas episode moment.
I'll rewatch the entire series once a year.
That's awesome. And the last of the 6 quick questions is, what are the best and worst things you've ever wasted money on?
I'm a pretty simple person. I don't need a lot of things myself, so I don't have like these luxury purchases. Although I did buy a very nice suit, a Dior suit, because you got to have a nice suit, you know?
Right, you got to have
and
one.
Then, in fact, when we were doing one of our music videos, we were wearing suits in the video, and someone, unbeknownst to me, steamed it and ruined it. And so it made me very sad. Because you can't steam a suit that has silk in it.
Right. I didn't know that, but I'll pretend like I
did. It shows me, like, that's why I shouldn't be spending money on dumb stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think most of the stuff that I've spent any kind of real money on is all just music equipment, and I don't feel like that's a waste of money.
Yeah, that's kind of important.
Yeah.
All good.
It's hard when you have to answer questions that aren't about the band.
That's why we wanted to mix it up a little bit, and instead of talking about the same thing for an hour, to get in there with some other stuff.
It. Make you think, you gotta be on your toes with this stuff.
Exactly.
I could think of one pop culture person.
Exactly. You can come up with by the end of the show, you'll have your one pop culture person, and
I should just say Martin, since clearly I love Martin.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable answer at this point.
I mean, who's talking about Martin in 2021? Not enough people.
Only you.
He's still out there.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, now we will get to some of the questions that got sent on Instagram earlier, because we don't want to, throw those away and not answer those fan questions. So the first one, which is something that also asked a very similar question for the Descendants, but I think it's true both times, is basically, how does it feel knowing that your music has helped so many people kind of at their darkest times, and when they're going through hard times and they put your music on?
We hear that a lot, and we get letters and stuff, and like, it always affects me, because to think that something that we did is actually having a positive impact on someone's life, and not only that, someone that's going through a hard time, like, there's nothing more gratifying to me to know that someone got something out of our music that helped them get through a dark patch. Like, I mean, I listened to Descendants when I was young, going through stuff that teens go through, and like, so their music helped me.
Absolutely. And the next question is that I'm going to summarize because it's about a paragraph long, but basically that you've had a lot of different kind of styles of merch and artwork on merch over the years. What inspires that, rather than just going with the standard kind of band tee with the album logo on it?
We've done that too.
Yeah, we've certainly done that, but I mean, merch is fun to make. Cool shirts that people are going to be excited to wear. I mean, we've always been involved in that. In fact, Hunter has actually made some of our shirts, like, back in the day, like, and so we've always put a lot of thought. We've never, like, merch never gets made that we don't sign off on. So if there was a particularly ugly AFI shirt, that was our fault. So, we've okayed everything and even created and been, very involved in this stuff, because, like, I at least want to think, like, would I wear that?
That makes sense. And the next question is, what's your most memorable festival or touring experience?
I mean,
I think my most memorable festival, it was 2003. 2003? Yeah, I guess so. When we played Reading and Leeds, I fell on top. I was jumping around off of things. And I fell on top of a stage light that had been on all day, but wasn't current on at the time. But it was, had the heat of a whole day's use.
Right.
And there's like a metal plate on the back that all the heat sort of goes through. And I fell on top of it, and it just burnt all the skin off my arm. And I was in the middle of Days of the Phoenix, and I'm trying to keep the song going. I'm trying to play, but the skin's like dripping off my arm. And then I got to ride in a golf cart across like a mile of like wood planks through like mud and dust over to a tent where they did like a whole burn treatment on it. So that was
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember I've told various stories about various things that have happened to me over the years, but I just thought of this one. We were playing a festival in Italy, and it was like, there's some band on before us, and the crowd must have hated them because there's a lot of like punks in the crowd, and like they were throwing rocks at the band, and it was like the middle of the day, and I went up to like watch this band, and I was like, oh no, like they were just pelting them with rocks, which was insane, and the stage was covered with rocks, and we were up next, and I'm like, this sucks, this is gonna be terrible, we're gonna get freaking pelted with rocks. And we went up there, and I was just thinking the worst, and then it was totally fine. No one threw one rock at us, and we rocked out because no one rocked us.
There you go. It's better to be the ones doing the rocking than getting rocked.
That's correct, my friend.
And the next question is, someone wants to know how different it is, and kind of the basic day-to-day of life on the road as a vegan, considering that not everywhere you go is going to have a ton of options for you.
I'll take this one.
I would think so, yeah.
It's tough. I mean, some cities there are tons of vegan restaurants and a lot of great food choices. Sometimes within walking distance of the venue. Sometimes the venue itself has like vegan stuff on the menu of the restaurant part of the venue or whatever. And then other times you're in the middle of nowhere and you're microwaving an Amy's meal from the freezer. So it helps that we try to keep the bus well stocked with like food and snacks and things. So it's definitely like so much easier than it was in the 90s and even in like the early 2000s. So if I can find anything to eat, I'm just happy and grateful that that's even there.
And I used to eat pain peas for every meal for like years.
It's true.
There you go. I'm sure it's better now than that. Although there are worse things to eat than wasabi peas, as we know.
That's true.
And we've got 2 more questions from Instagram, and then we'll get back to the Twitch chat. But the last 2 from Instagram, the first one is, if you were to go into a record store right now, what would you be looking to buy?
Like what record?
Yeah, just what kind of, what band or what album, I guess.
I'd probably buy the vinyl of the new Godspeed record. That would be kind of cool to have, because I have the other records on vinyl. I don't have that one.
I would probably, I'm trying to think of, I haven't been in a record store in so long. I usually would look through if they have a section of like vintage, like soul and funk and like Motown. For a period of time, I was trying to collect a lot of like better condition Motown releases and like Stax Volt stuff. Somewhere I have a list of like what I have and what I'm still looking for, but I haven't really gone down that path in a long time. So
there you go. And the last question for now from Instagram is, how have you seen your inspirations and creative process change over the years?
I mean, it all just kind of comes from the ether, really. and it always has. It's not like we're specifically influenced, or me at least, if I'm writing a song, I'm not specifically influenced by one thing or the other. It's just kind of like, I think, internalizing music that you hear, and being a songwriter, and then, going off of your old records. It just is kind of out there, and it just osmosizes into your brain somehow.
Yeah, I think also just always trying to play something that seems, or create something that seems like new and fresh, sort of helps you push beyond what you're doing. And I think that also, as you're taking in music, your stuff that stuff that you played before, you've heard, it sort of washes away, and then maybe you're more tuned in to things that seem fresh and new. But yeah, nothing is like directly influencing that. It's just sort of all just being in the world of music.
For sure. And getting back to the Twitch questions just for a minute. The first one is, what is your favorite song to play live?
I mean, that's like, it's hard to compare, like, say, playing something that's fast and aggressive versus like a long, slow, ballady song. So there's lots of songs. There's a ton of songs that each have their own magical thing. Like, we played a song called On the Arrow, where it's just like, there's no drums, so Adam comes to the front of the stage with the egg shaker and shakes it into the mic. And so that's like fun, because that only happens on that one song.
I think at this point, like, any song would be my favorite song to play.
There you go. I mean, it seems like just anything that you're not playing every night gets a little added bonus.
Yeah, it's fun to dust off something that we haven't played in forever, and see people like kind of like lose their mind when we play it, because they never thought they would hear that or we would play it live.
There you go. And we've had a couple questions similar to this, so I'm just going to kind of summarize it from a few people. But, what kind of new bands are you listening to? And this person specifically is asking about DIY bands. But, are there any young kind of new acts that you've heard that you're really into?
I'm not sure who and who isn't DIY these days. It's hard to tell, But I Dry Majesty, Holy Fawn, Girl in Red, Brother Tiger. These are some things that I've been listening to that, while they may not be DIY, they're still kind of like somewhat. Oh, Girl in the Red's starting to blow up, I think, but somewhat, lesser known.
Definitely. And anything from you, Hunter?
I was trying to think, like, I go through periods of time where I'm listening to like very, very current music, and then sometimes I'll just get stuck in a wave of like nostalgia or something else. I'm kind of in that right now. So.
Yeah, I'm in a very regressive period myself too right now.
Understandable. And the next question comes from Saruchu, who wants to know, what was your favorite moment recording Bodies?
I mean, I was tracking the vocals here in this room, and we finally tracked the last song, and Dave Entertainment, and I sat on that couch back there and took a picture with him holding up the lyrics of the last song. So it was like this moment of completion where it was kind of like, wow, we did this thing.
There you go.
Yeah, I recorded everything at home, and so it just kind of blended into my daily life. It's hard for me to sort of extract that from things like eating cereal and
I was just gonna say, you're eating cereal while playing the bass. That's so strange that you said that.
I mean, there's got to be something said for being able to eat cereal while you record, so couldn't have been that bad.
I brought cereal into every studio we've ever recorded in, so
there you go. And I mean, I know we had some questions on Instagram as well that we didn't get to yet about, recording in quarantine and during COVID and stuff. And so I guess that kind of answers the question as far as how you did it and went about it.
Well, we did Bodies we finished it right before the lockdown quarantine started, so that didn't really affect this record.
There you go, just voluntary recording in your own homes instead.
Yeah.
And the next question is specifically for Hunter. Is post-war science ever coming back?
Probably not. That's for everyone else. That was a sort of design and print company that my longtime friend Ted and I did for about 4 years, and then we decided to not do it. So
there you go. Sometimes things just need to end. And the next question comes from Pete G, who wants to know: would you rather tour or record?
Rather what?
Tour or record?
I mean, you can't do one without the other. Well, you can't tour without recording. So, for me, oh God, I hate recording. So it's got to be tour.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I love being in the studio and I love recording, especially if it's in my house and I can eat cereal. But I could do that anytime. And touring is kind of a special moment where you can actually like connect with people. So I'm pick tour.
I'm learning that the secret behind the really good AFI bass lines is cereal.
Yeah.
It's good to know. I mean, for all the aspiring bassists out there, get a good cereal bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And the next question is: how did you find a team that you felt that you could really trust and jive with?
Team?
Yes.
I mean, some of the people we've been working with for many, many years, and even our management we've been with now for like almost a decade, right? Is that right? That is right. So, we're very loyal to, we stick with people for a long time. So we tend to not have a lot of turnover. Like some people change managers all the time. And so, yeah, we've had a very stable team and they're great. And that's why we're still working together.
Very cool. And the last two questions that we have from Twitch for right now is: did you binge any shows during quarantine?
Oh, yeah.
Other than Martin.
I watched every iteration of Drag Race. Drag Race Holland, Drag Race UK, Drag Race US, Drag Race Canada, Drag Race All-Stars, Drag Race Christmas Special. So that's one thing I've definitely binged a lot of.
I mean, Drag Race, you're going to get... With Drag Race especially, you're going to get high-quality entertainment regardless of the scenario.
I know. I mean, I watched Drag Race Holland, which wasn't even in English. So, I'm down.
That's dedication. And Hunter, what did you say? Sorry, I was talking about Drag Race.
I was thinking about this the other day. I over the last year watched so many shows that it's embarrassing, and also I don't even remember half of them. They just go in one eyeball and not the other.
I mean,
that's a weird way to watch.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think that's understandable at this point, considering I feel like my wife and I have gone through the entire Netflix catalog and ended up back on the stuff we'd seen 10 years ago. And the last question from Twitch for right now is: are there any bands you would want to take on tour with you?
Oh man, so many. I like to take Sloth Rust on tour sometime. I really like them. They're really cool bands. Any of the bands that I mentioned before, bands I've been listening to, I like to take any of those bands on tour.
Any bands we're friends with, that is always fun to take on tour too, and too many to mention, but that always makes for a really fun time.
There you go. And getting back to the last handful of Instagram questions, not interview questions, before we run out of time here. If you had to pursue another job, what would you do?
I mean, before I was ever going to be in a band or a musician, since I was a little kid, thought I was going to be a writer, which didn't pan out, luckily. But that was the one thing that I always had pictured and planned on being. So maybe that would happen, but I hope not.
Yeah, I feel like I'd probably end up being like a landlord or something.
A land mower?
Landlord.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's different than a land mower, but...
Yeah.
or just a billing manager,
There you go. Taking
I
care of
just picture myself like kind of like a Mr. Furley.
Or like maybe like a handyman with a bunch of keys on a keychain.
Okay.
Key ring.
I could see that. I mean, I feel like you're like the band handyman, right?
Sure.
Yeah, like when the air conditioning goes out in the bus, we're like, Hunter, will you fix the air conditioning?
All right. I'll get down there.
Let me get my keys.
There you go. And the next question, what's the album that helped you when you were in high school or when you were in middle school?
I mean, I definitely, the Cure Standing on the Beach singles, which is technically a singles collection, not an album, but to me, I thought it was an album when it came out because I didn't know any better. Like that definitely had this impact on me discovering that kind of music, and just at the time in my life, I would say it had a very positive impact on me.
I think definitely in the the super emotional times of high school, I turned to Disintegration, Cure, and Jawbreaker, Bivouac.
There you go, a classic. And it's funny, Jade, that you say that the Cure collection, because I know for me and a lot of my friends, we discovered the old AFI tracks through the AFI collection that came out in like 2004 or 2005, whenever that
really?
was. Yeah.
That's funny. Did you think it was an album, or did you know it was a collection?
I think I knew it was a collection, but I remember there were a lot of songs on there that I'd never heard before because they were from way back when, or like on EPs or whatever. And yeah, it was like, oh man, like there's a lot of stuff on here that I was not familiar with, and it was a really good introduction to a lot of those songs.
That's cool, because when that came out, they came out without our approval. Like it got put out. We never had a say in it. And
Yeah.
It kind of pissed us off. So I'm glad that it actually ended up
Yeah,
being positive.
Obviously at this point now I'm familiar with the EPs and stuff, but back when I was 14 or 15 or whatever and buying albums on an allowance, then it was nice to have a bunch of songs in one place. So
like, this album is so good. Every song is good on it.
Exactly. There's no.
That's what I thought about the Cure thing. I was like, this is like an album. Every song's so good. It's crazy. What's a singles collection? What does that mean?
There you go. And then the last question we'll take from Instagram, since we're just about out of time, is what other bands have, I guess, aesthetics, I think that word's supposed to be, and artwork who inspires you and who you'd want to be like?
I mean, like, Nick Cave, obviously, is just perennially cool. I think The Cure, Depeche Mode, bands that just still are cool and still doing great art. And, like I said, Godspeed for me.
Yeah, that's a weird question. I feel like we, as a band, kind of have developed our sort of style and aesthetic to such a point where we know what our thing is, and we know kind of what we think is cool, and I feel like we're always kind of reaching for that, regardless of what all the different influences and elements are that came to sort of create that. So
for sure. And since we've only got 2 minutes left, Jade, did you come up with a pop culture figure?
I said Martin, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Martin.
That's right.
People
Okay.
sleeping on Martin, clearly, even if I just said it. I gotta really start, promoting his career.
That's true, and I would argue that even though I think the idea was to be someone who's super current, Martin never goes out of style, so it still works.
He doesn't. Martin is eternal, and Martin will outlive us all, so,
Exactly. Some things never change. Awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to share ahead of the album or for anyone watching at home right now?
If you enjoyed our amazing answers to all these questions, please check out our album, and I hope you enjoy it.
I'm going to say, if you really didn't like the answers to our questions, please check out our album.
Yeah, it's much better than our answers to these questions.
There you go. I think that works either way. So for those of you watching at home, no matter how you felt about the answers to the questions, you should check out the album. And with that said, Jade, Hunter, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone at home, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back next week, although not with anyone nearly as fun as these two. So, stay tuned and go pick up the album on Friday.
Thanks.
Take it easy, everyone.
Thank you.